Department of Dairy Chemistry, the College of Dairy Science and Technology, Pukod, Wayanad. And for today's presentation, my topic is bovine milk oligosaccharides as a future of nutraceuticals. Sir, is it audible? Any problem? Okay. So coming to the presentation, here are the authors and their affiliations. First of all, myself, then second one, Justin Bose, and the third one, Divya MP. She is working as assistant professor in the same department, and last one, Anne Mary. Okay. Before that, we are going for some brief introduction about the breastfeeding and also the importance of the breast milk. So coming to the breastfeeding, as we all know that breastfeeding is a term used for that feeding the newborn babies by using the mother's milk. So what will happen if the breast milk or the human milk is not available for the feeding of the infants? So while looking for that, WHO and UNICEF recommends infants should exclusively breastfeed for the first 6 months of their life. For that, this recommendation is about that only the breast milk will contribute all the essential nutrients or all the essential micronutrients required for the health for the human infants for their brain development and also for their immunity boosting. Breastfed babies had a greater immunity against bottle-fed milk babies, and also in the global census, only less than 40% of the young ones are exclusively breastfed according to the WHO census. So before going to our topic, we are just comparing the compositional difference between the human milk and bovine milk. So in this study, we are mainly focusing on the using of bovine milk oligosaccharide as a substitute of the human milk oligosaccharide for preparing infant milk formulae. So we are going for the difference between the composition of human milk and bovine milk. So we can see from the table that almost all the total solids and also the fat content of the human milk and the cow milk are similar, and there have some large difference in protein content, and in human milk only 1% in range, and for cow milk it's in the range of 3.4%. And the principal sugar found in milk is lactose, and the lactose percentage for human milk is higher as compared to the cow milk. It's for human milk it is 7%, and for cow milk is 4.8%. And for cow milk it contains a higher ash content, that is 0.7%, and for human milk it is only less than 0.2%. And here is our topic relevant constituent, that is milk oligosaccharide. For human milk it contains about 1 to 2% of the total mass, and for converting this percentage into grams, it contains 15 gram per liter, and for cow milk these oligosaccharides are very less, that is around 15 mg per liter. And this milk oligosaccharide is okay. Basically, this milk oligosaccharide is composed of different monosaccharide linked by glycosidic linkage. In human milk or any other mammalian milk, it contains a lactose percentage around 1 to 10%. Varying percentage are shown in different species based on their species identification. And this lactose is composed of two main monosaccharides, that is glucose and galactose, linked by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage. Other than this major saccharide found in milk, there is less amount of other saccharides also found, and this saccharide refers to as the oligosaccharides. Okay, in human milk, it contains around 130 different oligosaccharides at a total concentration of around 115 gram per liter. And this basically this oligosaccharides contains a lactose in their producing end, which is linked by N-acetyl glucosamine, galactose, fucose, N-acetyl muramic acid, and sialic acid derivative of N-acetyl muramic acid. Okay. And most of these oligosaccharides are neither digested nor absorbed within the infant's small intestine. That is, these oligosaccharides are resistance to the intestinal enzymes, and it will bypass the gut, and it will reaches the intestine and act as a prebiotic in nature. And this prebiotic is responsible for the growth of the beneficial microorganism, or we are termed it as probiotic organisms, that are live microorganisms that are intended to have health benefits when consumed or applied to the body. And these probiotics will help in several health benefits for human infants, that are it is responsible for the immune boosting and also brain development, and also having anti-carcinogenic activity, control of intestinal pathogens, and also helps in lactose metabolism when the lactose intolerance are present. Okay. Besides that, most of these oligosaccharides are bypass the gut, but a small portion of the oligosaccharides are directly absorbed to the blood. And this milk oligosaccharide acting as immunomodulators within circulation in the blood, and that the salic acid or silyl milk oligosaccharide, it's a kind of milk oligosaccharide, and it can be used as a precursor for the formation of brain gangliosides or CLO-glycoproteins. And these brain gangliosides are responsible for the brain development of the human infants. And here is the potential health benefits of oligosaccharides or human milk oligosaccharides. First of all, it is prebiotic in nature, and this prebiotic means there is a food for probiotic microorganisms. And this also responsible for the formation of gangliosides compounds, that is for brain development, and also having anti-infectious activity. And these human oligosaccharides are also converted into glycosaminoglycans, and these glycosaminoglycans are anti-infectious in nature. And here we are going for the chemical structure of human milk oligosaccharides and bovine milk oligosaccharide. As we already told that human milk oligosaccharide consists of 5 monosaccharide building blocks, that are galactose, glucose, N-acetyl glucosamine, fucose, and salic acid derivative of N-acetyl muramic acid. By 2 different disaccharides, either galactose beta 1 3 glucose N-acetyl glucosamine type 1 chain, or galactose beta 1 4 N-acetyl glucosamine, that is type 2 chain. In this picture, in the left side, we can see that the human milk oligosaccharide, and in the right side, we can see that the structure of the bovine milk oligosaccharide. And this bracketed is the lactose, and it is found in the reducing end. And this lactose is composed, other monosaccharides are linked linearly or branchedly into this lactose molecule. And we can see that all the 5 monosaccharides are linking by different types of bond, that is beta 1 4, beta 1 3, alpha 2 6, beta 1 3, like linkages. So here comes the relevance of our topic. We are using bovine milk oligosaccharide as a constitute of for preparing infant milk formulae, besides the absence of human milk oligosaccharides. For that, the production of we are extracting the bovine milk oligosaccharide from whey permeates. The whey itself means that it's a byproduct obtained from cheese manufacturing or cheese industry, and this whey consisting of higher amount of non-casein proteins and also polar molecules such as salts, lactose, and bovine milk oligosaccharides. And there are studies have demonstrated that the bovine milk oligosaccharide and this whey we are subjecting for membrane treatment for preparation of the whey permeates, and for we are subjecting the membrane filtration. We are extracting the whey protein, and the remaining whey permeates contain lactose and bovine milk oligosaccharides. And the studies have demonstrated that the bovine milk dairy streams contain several oligosaccharides, with a few of them structurally similar to those found in human milk, and with some structure common to both kinds of milk. So that studies recommended stated that oligosaccharides found in the bovine milk and are having similar structure and also similar activity comparing to the recovery of the bovine milk oligosaccharide from whey permeate. For that, the isolation of oligosaccharide from whey permeate is still a major challenge due to their high percentage of the lactose and lower concentration of the target oligosaccharides. So for that, recovery of the bovine milk oligosaccharide from whey permeate. The lactose is a major constraints or major challenge. Higher amount of the lactose is a major challenge for preparation of the bovine milk oligosaccharide from the whey permeate. Recent studies with membrane filtration technologies have shown that it is possible to isolate 3 oligosaccharides in bovine milk, that is 3 silane lactose and 6 silane lactose and N64 acetyl galactosamine lactose. And these 3 different oligosaccharides are having similar structure and also similar health activity as comparing to that of human milk oligosaccharide, and having a recovery rate of 70 to 97%, but with a very low degree of purity by nanofiltration. The use of diafiltration would increase the another study states that the use of diafiltration would increase the purity of considerable level, that is from 1.4 to 10.4%, with the cost of recovery rate is very high. And another study done by Duncan et al. In 2020, the process relates to on optimized condition for lactose hydrolysis at maximum level complete fermentation of monosaccharides released from the hydrolysis of lactose, followed by content substitute for nanofiltration by nanofiltration membrane. And for this, the study was based on the integration of 3 different processing techniques, that is firstly enzymatic hydrolysis of the lactose by using the commercially available lactase enzyme, that is beta galactosidase enzyme. And this lactose hydrolysis permeate stream is subjected for yeast fermentation for digesting or for metabolic digesting of these formed monosaccharides. And finally, we are going for membrane filtration for extracting the bovine milk oligosaccharide, and it is validated as a pilot scale to produce a purified complex oligosaccharide fraction-free digestible sugar such as lactose, glucose, and galactose. So then we are going for development the infant feed formula. The infant feed formula is developed by keeping the human milk as gold standard. While we are preparing the or producing the infant milk formula, all the constituents found in human milk used to make to the infant milk formula, and the bovine milk oligosaccharides, milk or milk derived oligosaccharides, are primarily composed of galacto-oligosaccharide with inherent concentrations of silylated oligosaccharide, which are structurally identical to some of the silylated oligosaccharide in human milk. These silylated oligosaccharides contribute to the structural diversity of milk derived oligosaccharides, providing sialic acid and monosaccharide linkages. Thus, the addition of milk oligosaccharide have a huge potential in developing the nutritional parameters of infant feed formulas. So here concluding my topic, that's bovine milk oligosaccharide can be considered as an effective replacement for human milk oligosaccharides. The process technique to isolate the oligosaccharide from the whey permeate is just beginning for the industrial development in the field, and the further process optimization studies should be conducted to isolate structures similar to the oligosaccharide in human milk exclusively from whey permeates, as it is abundantly available and is usually discarded, creating a huge commercial and environmental consequences. So for preparing the human milk infant formula when there is an absence of human milk, with this bovine milk oligosaccharide recovered from this whey permeate is very useful, and it is very economical in nature. For in considering that the whey is a byproduct in the cheese industry, as we are all know that we are discarding this whey as a waste, and for this discarding it is very having a huge problem, commercial and environmental, and this gives a suitable opportunity for making valorization of this whey for making bovine milk oligosaccharide. Okay, thank you.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Yue Liu, and my English name is Lucy. I'm the assistant professor of finance from University of Edinburgh in the UK. So today I'm going to present, I don't know your background, but my paper is about business finance. So the title of the paper is The Determinants of the General CEO Overconfidence Level. Sorry, just to try to, Yeah, this is going to be the topics I'm going to be covering today. So I start with the background and then raising the research question and introducing my data and results, and finally highlight my contributions to the literature. So why we want to study managerial confidence level? Because it has a big impact on corporate performance in the area of finance. So there are a rich body of literature focusing on managerial behavior biases, including cognitive biases, and to see how these biases can affect their decision-making at corporate level. For instance, some studies have shown that CEO overconfidence bias has a significant impact on corporate investment policy and overconfident CEOs, with especially when the CEOs they have abundant internal funds to invest. Basically, they can waste the resource in the corporation to invest in some kind of negative NPV projects. So this area is really falling into the big area in behavior finance. And then, of course, in terms of the confidence bias, it's generally referred to the cognitive deviation from the rational level. For instance, in the context of overconfidence bias, it's basically saying that, a person, especially a CEO, top manager, could be too confident, overconfident about their ability, their judgment, or the information, and so that they can make suboptimal business decisions. So some other papers also show firms with overconfident CFOs are characterized by more investment, so they invest more, and they have higher level of debt, so they borrow a lot more than rational CFOs. And they apply lower discount rate in calculating the free cash flow. They have lower likelihood of paying dividends, and they have higher likelihood of repurchasing shares. Well, in the context of mergers and acquisition decision, which is one of the big decisions, strategic decisions made by corporate managers, and this is very important. A lot of studies on mergers and acquisitions. There is a particular perspective from the behavior finance angle, which was initially raised by Rowe 1986. It's basically saying that we can have a kind of hubris as a human being. So we're overconfident. So as a CEO, they might believe they can manage, or they should manage, a larger firm than their current firm, right? So they then, the strategic decision of them are usually to buying firms from outside world. So a rich body of literature is basically showing that overconfident CEOs are associated with high likelihood of conducting merger acquisition. So they're more likely to buy firms, and also their deals are actually not a good deal. So they suffer long-term poor performance. Okay, so my research questions are these two. First, what are the factors that can help to explain the general CEO confidence level measured by the moneyness of CEOs unexercisable in the money financial options or stock options? And my second question is about how does the general CEO overconfidence level relates to firms' future performance? So I really want to test whether the confidence level has a positive or negative effect on the firm's performance in general. Of course, in my paper, I try to focus on the market-based performance measure, which is the stock market return. Well, for some other papers, they might be focusing on operational performance, like those items on the financial statement or balance sheet or income statement. So the data I'm using is the CEO profile data from 1992 to 2014. The country I focus on, US, just because they provide more data, very rich data in terms of the CEO's compensations, including their stock options, bonus, and salaries. So those elements are essential for us to construct our confidence level measure because normally, you know, we can measure confidence by, of course, using the survey or questionnaire or doing psychometric tests, but those kind of methods tend to be very kind of subjective, and also it's not always feasible. So that's why in the literature, there's a nice quantifiable measure of confidence, which is based on stock options of the CEO. The idea is that if a CEO is very confident about the company's future, he or she will not exercise their stock options earlier because they want to wait to see the next period if the stock price goes up, and by exercising the options later, they can actually earn more kind of profits by doing that. So of course, if you're not very confident, and then you just want to exercise your options now rather than waiting for a later time, right? So that's the basic rationale of the measure. We also use some kind of supplement data from CRISP and CompuStat, those kind of traditional commercial data sets. My final sample consists of 23,436 CEO firm year observations and 5,517 CEO firm observations. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the calculation detail about the measure of managerial confidence level, but just as I mentioned, the rationale is it's just kind of very intuitive, right? It's just because you want to earn more money and you believe your stock price is going to be increased further, and then you just wait for longer. But if you're not so confident, you just do it now, exercise it now. So these are the regression results. In this regression, the dependent variable is basically the moneyness, which is the measure of the of the confidence level. So the higher the moneyness value, and the higher the confidence level of the CEO. That's the dependent variable. And I also consider several independent variables because I want to see what personal factors, a person kind of personal characteristics, okay, can somehow determine the level of confidence, or if they can decide that, or none of them are significant. So I include some basic factors here. For example, the CEO's age, gender, their compensation rank within the corporation. So if they receive very high compensation or low compensation comparing with other managers in the same company. So it's kind of rank of their salary and other forms of compensation. And the fourth factor is the size, the firm size, large firm, small firm, if there's any difference. And Tobin's Q is a traditional measure for the company's valuation. Of course, if the company is overvalued by the market, the Tobin's Q is going to be high, right? So I want to see if the market valuation matters in terms of the determinant of the CEO confidence. And the price is the stock price, to see the current market price of the stock, to see if the company's performance is very good, and then probably the CEO is more confident than those CEOs whose company's price is not so high, right? So we run this regression, and interestingly, we find the negative correlation of association between age, rank of the CEO compensation and the firm size with the confidence level, right? So basically it's saying that the younger the CEO, the higher the level of confidence. And also if the CEO receive a high level of compensation, including their stock options and the salaries, okay, and all other bonus and all other cash forms of compensation, okay, the more they receive as compensation, the higher the confidence level. And also I found, interestingly, actually the CEOs in smaller firms tend to be more confident than those CEOs in a large firm, which is a bit contrary to our intuition here. And I also find the positive correlation between firm valuation, Tobin's Q, and the firm current share price with the confidence level. So I also try to see if the CEO's current confidence level can somehow interpret or can somehow explain the firm's future performance. Say, if I'm confident, very confident now, if my confidence is a rational level of confidence or overconfidence, if it's overconfidence, it's going to be destroying firm value, right? But if it's a rational level of confidence, it should be good for the company's futures performance. So I use the press lead, which are the share price 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years after, okay, the testing point of the confidence level year. And actually, we found a negative correlation in all regressions. And this is very interesting and important because it's basically saying that the confidence level we have observed here are too high, and actually they play a negative role on firm performance. They actually destroy firm's value. Okay, so I think I've already talked through all these kind of key findings. Finally, I just want to highlight the contributions, why this paper is interesting, why it is different from previous studies. The first contribution of this paper is that it complements the empirical literature on CEO overconfidence by focusing on the general CEO confidence level. Okay, so basically, in my paper, I consider the rational level of confidence as well. While in previous or most previous papers, they only focusing on the extreme cases, like if you have too much or too few confidence or too little confidence. But for me, I also look at the rational range. Okay, within the rational range, it could be higher or lower. So that's the first contribution. And secondly, this study considers the CEO overconfidence level as a continuous and time-variant factor, while most other papers in previous literature, they basically assume that the overconfidence bias of a person is time-invariant. So it's kind of personality trait, okay? It can start from very young age. It won't change over time. But in my measure, it captures the time variance, okay, in terms of the confidence level, because, you know, maybe after experiencing financial crisis or some kind of exogenous shocks, people's kind of biases could be changing and their self-judgment could be changing. So that's a second contribution. And finally, this paper established the link between certain CEO and firm characteristics and the general confidence level of CEOs. So that's all from me. I really look forward to all the comments or suggestions from our colleagues here. And again, thanks for offering me this great opportunity to share my research. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Viorica Ghisman, and I am a lecturer at Dunărea de Jos University of Galați and Romania. And for today, I will present to you research studies regarding the recycling of waste slag to improve soil acidity. The paper is structured in introduction, material and sample preparation, structural characterization of slag samples, and physical chemical characterization of soil slag mixture. And I will finish with the conclusion of this research study. The Sustainable Development of 2030 Agenda and the waste management legislation sustain the disposal of a large quantity of slag at landfill sites by causing environmental consequences, which has draw attention to the need for its more effective recycling. Heavy industries have been operating in the Galați area for over 30 years, and an ecological education is necessary for an efficient management of waste slag. Also, the agricultural land resources are an issue worldwide, and through this investigative study, we want to show that the mixture of blast furnace slag and the waste slag dumped in landfill can help remediation of the soil acidity and also to the increase of the crop yield. The slags were collected from the largest integrated steel company of Galați. The types of slag used for characterization were granulated blast furnace slag in the name of sample 1, and the waste slag dumped in the landfill in the name of sample 2. Both samples of slags were coarse in size, and the size fraction were in the range of 1.25 millimeters and 71 micrometers. We made a combination of both types of slag, 50% granulated blast furnace slag and 50% waste slag dumped in landfill, and this sample is in name of the sample 3. In order to obtain nutrients and to recycle the slag which is dumped in enormous quantities. For soil slag mixture preparation, we use the topsoil and was a sample from a commune of Galați County of Romania. The collected soil was crushed and milled in different size fractions, and we mixed the soil and the new recipe of the slag, the name of sample 3, in different proportion to prepare 3 mixtures. With weight ratio soil slag such as 1:1, 3:1, and 1:3. Regarding the tier spectrum in the range of 700 to 1,100 centimeter -1, we found that there are obvious absorption peaks in the spectrum for all the slag samples. The granulated blast furnace slag show the characteristic absorption bands assigned to the stretching vibration of the hydroxyl group originated from the weakly absorbed water molecules on the slag surfaces. In the case of combination of both types of slag, 50% granulated blast furnace slag and 50% waste slag dumped in landfills, can be observed that the intensity of absorption peaks is smaller in comparison with sample 1 and sample 2 of the slag. In this slide, you can see that at a larger magnification, the surface is rough and uneven, and one can notice a rounded grain-like rugged formation. The slag samples display aggregated particles with average diameter of a few micrometers. Also, in this rounded formation, it can be seen different morphologies like spheres, rods, boards, and which is specific each compound phase from a metallurgical slag. In this slide is presented the EDX spectra of slag samples, which was recorded on different selected punctual area to obtain more information about the elemental composition of specific areas. The selected punctual areas are highlighted like this. The spheric structure is with a yellow line, and the structure-like boards are with a green line. In the case of sample 1, for both structures, the values of chemical elements present are similar, and the silicon has a higher value at spheric structure, which can be correlated with the presence of silica. And the higher content of calcium reveals that the sample 1 is blast furnace slag. dominated by calcium and silicon composition. In the case of sample 2, it can be observed that the content of carbon increase for both structures, and also appear elements like titanium, barium, manganese. This phenomena is that the slag was dumped in landfill for more than 30 years. And one can observe in sample 3 that the values of all the chemical elements are both spheric and board-like structures and are between the first two samples, confirming the FTI spectra regarding chemical interactions between the first two samples. XRD X-ray diffraction patterns of the slag samples with the faces identified are shown in present slide, and show minor peaks of free calcium oxide and magnesium oxide, which can be deleterious and cause reduction in strength. The faces and the amorphous content of the sample 1, which is granulated blast furnace slag, are broadly consistent with the literature. Sample 3, which is the combination of this type, two types of slag, consists of crystalline phase, as observed by the X-ray diffraction analysis. In terms of the relations of phase thermal equilibrium, the compounds identified form an isomorphic series of melitides that is specific to basic metallurgical slags. The important parameters of soil and slag solution were measured: the pH, conductivity, and the salinity, as can you see in a table displayed. The data presented suggests that the soil sampled has the pH equal with 5.2, corresponding to a medium soil, acid soil, which does not sustain high fertility and is not able to offer proper condition for the crops. The pH value of slag solution is 20.5 and correspond strongly basic character, which is beneficial in amelioration process of acidic soils. And the presence of this type of slag sustain the improving of soil characteristic too. Also, you can see the data given in second table for the humidity of soil that is bigger, and decreases in soil slag samples with adding the slag content. In conclusion to our research, we found that soil pH is a very important parameter because it plays an important role in the mobility of heavy metals, and also an acidic pH is accompanied by dissolution processes of minerals and hydrated iron, manganese, and aluminum oxide, on which heavy metal ions are adsorbed. Also, the obtained results of the new slag mixtures support the improvement of acid soils with positive effects on the characteristic and quality of the soil. By using this percent of the slag waste combining with granulated slag, we can solve two current issues. One, by disposal of landfill slag waste, and the second one is to make them useful in the acidic soil amelioration process. And thank you for your attention. Is domain different what has been presented before.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. I'm Sheenam, a research scholar from LPU University, Punjab. Today, I present my research paper on the topic emerging stock markets and investors' attention, the EGARCH model. So for today's plan for the presentation is, first we will discuss about the introduction part, literature review, data and the results, and at last the conclusion. So related to this topic, we all know that the financial market is a really important nowadays, and the stock market is one of that market. This is a key factor which is very important in our economy, and the investor attention is among the main factors which affect this market, and the experts are increasingly expressing their concerns about the effects of the investors' attention on the stock market's activities. Because this is a part of a behavioral finance, which is also a rapidly expanding field, and investors can process an infinite amount of informations, but the investors are only concentrated on few things, few news. They cannot notice all around the news. In contrast to earlier studies, there were many methods from which we can analyze the impact of the investors' attention. Like there were many methods used in past studies, like the extreme returns, media coverage, advertising, spending, expense, etc. But in this study, in this present study, as a result, we use the GSVI concept, the Google Search Volume Index concept, to measure the investor attention, and from that we will analyze the impact of investor attention on the stock market. As a result, this study looks at the relationship between investor attention and the stock market using the VOR method, Toda-Yamamoto, ARDL test, and the EGARCH model. The sample period is from the January 2004 to the June 2022 using the EGARCH model, and we observe many relationships like univariate and bivariate relationship among the countries. In the literature review section, the GSVI, Google Search Volume Index, has previously been used in many studies, like in the Chen 2021 and the most famous DA study in 2011. And there are many also famous studies on this topic. In the data section, I'll take the emerging stock markets from the list of MSCI 2021. I choose the 6 markets for my data, and the benchmark indexes is used for the analysis. And to present the investor attention, the Google Search Volume Index time series data is used from Google Trends. The keywords are gathered as per the recommendation by the Bloomberg, WordStream, and the Google Trends, displayed in table 1 that I explain later. And the data sample is from 1 January 2004 to 30 June 2022, because the Google Trend data is only available from 1 January 2004. So for that reason, we'll choose this sample period. And this study used the VOR, Toda-Yamamoto test, ARDL, and the EGARCH model. These are the results from the models and all methods. First of all, this is the data which we'll choose for this analysis. These are 6 emerging countries: China, Russia, Thailand, Mexico, Peru, and Czech Republic. And these are their benchmark indexes with the suggested keywords by the Bloomberg, WordStream, and the Google Trends. Among them, the highest search intensity keyword measured from Google Trends is selected for all emerging country. And this is the result of the unit root test for the investor attention. We'll prefer the ADF stats and the PP stats. The results are mentioned with the p-value. And this is the unit root results of the benchmark indexes, the closing price series of all 6 emerging countries. So from these 2 tables, we can say that the GSY series of all 6 countries are I0 in nature, because they are significant at first level. And the closing price series of all 6 emerging countries are I1 in nature, because they are stationary at the first difference. So we have 2 combinations of series. One series is I0 and one is I1. So for this combination, the ARDL model is very preferable use. So we will use the ARDL model for our analysis, and after that we will use the EGARDS model to check the impact. These are the results of the Toda-Yamamoto result test for all 6 emerging countries. And from this table, we can say that there is a univariate short-term relationship in countries like China, Czech Republic, Russia, and Thailand. And there is bivariate short-term relationship in Peru country only. And these are the ARDL results. And among the 6 countries, there is a long-term relationship exists in 5 countries: China, Thailand, Mexico, Peru, and Czech Republic, with a negative sign, which means there is a negative relationship between the investor attention and the stock market closing price series. And in Russia, there is no long-term relationship exists, so that the error correction regression coefficient cannot be found. And these are the results of EGARDS model for all 6 emerging countries. And from this result table, we claim that there is a negative impact of investor attention in countries like China, Russia, Thailand, and Czech Republic with a significance level of 1%. And there is no impact found in Mexico and Peru because the p-value is more than 10%. The significance level is more than 10%. So we reject the null hypothesis, and we can say that there is no impact in Mexico and Peru. So in conclusion part, we can say that after analyzing all models, results show that there is a short-term univariate relationship in China, Czech Republic, Russia, and Thailand, and bivariate in Peru. And the long-term relationship in 5 countries like China, Thailand, Mexico, Peru, and Czech Republic with a negative sign between the variables of investor attention and closing price series. And in the result finding of EGARDS model, there is a negative impact on China, Russia, Thailand, and Czech Republic with a significance level of 1%. There is a negative impact of investor attention on stock markets of these countries. And the finding of the study can set that out of 6 countries, 4 have a negative impact of investor attention on stock market returns among the 6 countries. And this study will be helpful for stock market investors, traders, scholars, and academicians. Additionally, the analysis of result on a large scale with more countries expands the field for future research. So thank you from my side.